good, YouTube? It's Adam from I'm a Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to go ahead and remake from scratch 4 Beatz Act 2 Day to Day featuring Drake. There are two tempos for this one, 136 beats per minute and Drake's part at 102 beats per minute. And the track is produced by Untitled Beatz and 40. Let's start off with the main keys. We're gonna go over to our library browser here. We're gonna go over to Vintage Electric Piano. We're gonna go to Experimental and we'll go down to the SoCal Ballad Piano. And let's go draw in those chords. Let's go ahead and duplicate those up. So on the second part, the chords will switch up right here. So I'm gonna cut that out. So it's gonna go like this. Let's take out this bottom note and just add in this top note right here. Next, let's go to open up Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And what we're gonna do here is just pull up the detuning a little bit. And we'll also add in a little bit of flanger here. Give it some movement. All right, so now let's go ahead and just bounce this in place. We'll hit Control B on our keyboard and we'll go ahead and reverse those keys because at the end of each chord, you hear like this buildup of the chord, which is the chord being reversed. So here is our bounce down version. We're just gonna go ahead and chop it up on the chord. So we'll cut it up there, 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 and there. We'll select all of our regions, go to our inspector tab and go to reverse. And it sounds like this. And then what we're gonna do here is just lower the volume a little bit, bring this one back, let them play together. There's a little clicks and pops here, so let's take that out. We'll put a 5 on the fade in and 5 on the fade out. You're not gonna hear those fades, it's just gonna take away those clicks and pops. Now we'll go back to this keys over here and we're going to up the attack, so it's a little softer. The reason why we left it down before was to make that reverse sound a little bit more emphatic. All right, now we got to go ahead and layer these keys up with some pads. We're going to create a new software instrument track and we will bring in a preset from the Sounds of Metro Boomin kit. And I'll bring in the preset called ST Pad. We're going to copy down the same pattern. It sounds like this. The other thing we'll do, we'll open up Logic's ES2 and we'll just take away some of the top end here. Make it a little bit darker. We'll layer that in with the other stuff. Now let's bring in another pad just to give it a little more texture. Let's create a new software instrument track. For this, we're gonna bring in Logic's Alchemy and we're gonna go over to the pad category. And we're gonna bring in the preset Analog Resonance Sweep. Let's just close that out, copy down the same pattern. Once again, that is way too bright. Let's bring in EQ and make that a little bit more narrow sounding. And now let's layer that all together. You have that full texture that we need to create that key sound. Next, we're gonna group all this together and manipulate it as a whole. So we're gonna select all of our tracks, go Shift Command G, and the first effect we'll bring in is Logic's Exciter. We'll go to Specialize Exciter. And we'll just pull up the harmonics a bit. Just just bring out that key sound a little bit more. So that brings it out a bit. Next, we'll bring in some chorus. We'll go to modulation chorus, and we'll go to a preset here. Just to soften up that sound a little bit. Then we'll bring in an EQ. We'll take out some top end as a whole. Just a little bit. Bring a little shelf there. And then we're going to bring in some analog character to the sound. We're going to bring in a plugin by yours truly, by myself. It's called Sampled. We're going to first off bring in a little bit of noise here. So we're going to take off all this stuff here. Just bring in a little bit of noise. We're going to put it in an analog circuit. We'll go to circuit 2. And then we'll just add in a little bit of wobbleness to the sound. Give some pitch fluctuations in there. So if we go ahead and A/B that with it off, then we give it that analog flavor. And then last but not least, let's bring in some space. We'll go to Logic's, not Space Designer, we'll go to Reverb and bring in Logic's Chroma Verb. We'll bring in an effects reverb here. We'll go to effects. Actually, we'll go to synth reverbs and we'll bring in the grain effects preset. It has like an undertone droney thing to it. And that's it for the keys. Let's bring in that shaker. I'm going to create a new software instrument track. And we're going to go over to my library browser here. I already created the drum kit for this remake, the Dated 8 drum kit, or Act 2 Dated 8. And we're going to go ahead and first off bring in that shaker for the intro bit. So we're going to start off like this. Put on every other step. Make sure that's soloed out. Now, not each step is going to hit at the same velocity. It's going to give it some more movement. So let's go to our velocity and just sort of adjust each one. We'll bring the first one a little lower and we'll make it go down as it plays out. And the last one we'll leave up. And then the first one once again, and then we'll continue our downtrend with our velocities. Now to get that effect on it, it's sort of like a swooshing effect. I put a phaser on this as well as some reverb. So listen to it without the reverb and without the phaser. Sounds like this. With the phaser effect. And with the reverb. So here's our intro. Next, let's bring the rest of the drums. We'll start off with something easy and simple like the clap. Let's create a pattern region and just put it on the 3. It sounds like this. Let's draw in that kick pattern. Let's bring in that perk sound. Now let's bring in that clav. Now let's bring in those hi-hats. Now let's bring in that bass. We'll go over to our library browser and we'll bring in Logic's bass. And we'll bring in the Liverpool bass preset. We'll adjust the sounds in a little bit. Let's go ahead and just draw in that pattern first. duplicate this over. Next thing we're gonna do, we'll just adjust this bass sound a little bit. Let's open up the bass amp here. I'm gonna make it really bassy. We'll boost the lows here. And we'll bring up the tone a little bit. Makes it a little bit brighter. Next, let's bring in that lead sound. We're just gonna copy this over once again. We'll create a new software instrument track. We'll go over to Logic's Alchemy. We'll go over to the leads category and we'll bring in the analog unison lead preset. Does not sound good. Let's open up Logic's Alchemy. And the first thing we're going to do is go over to the Advanced tab and we're going to bring up the glide. So when the notes are overlapping, it's going to glide into that secondary note. We're also going to take away the delay and add in an EQ. So first let's take out the delay here. Take out the resonance. Open up our EQ. Ooh, that's our compressor. Open up our EQ. We want to make this very narrow sounding. All right, next, let's put that in a space. We'll bring in Logic's Space Designer. And once again, we'll bring in like a warped effect space. We'll go to warped effect. We'll go over to moving spaces and we'll bring in the preset called Snowball. Let's bring that nice and low in the mix. That's pretty much the beat right there. Now all we got to do is get to the Drake part. And the Drake part is really easy. It's basically using the same instruments, same everything. We're just lowering down the tempo, but we're applying a pitch effect to it as well. So as you lower the speed, it's going to lower the pitch as well. Right here, we're at playing the beat at 136 beats per minute. We're gonna go ahead and just take out this lead. We're gonna go over to custom and we're gonna bring in vary speed over here, which is set in my custom page. If you don't have it, go to your LCD custom here and go to vary speed. Make sure this is clicked up and it'll get this middle section right here. The next thing you want to do is select vary speed, speed and pitch. This will lower your tempo and it will also lower the pitch at the same time. So if I go over to our tempo over here, our resulting tempo, so you could change what it is. You can have by percent, resulting tempo, detune, or your tuning reference. I'm going to change it over to resulting tempo because I know I want to go down to 102 beats per minute. It's going to go from this 136 down to 102. And that is the Drake part. So not only are you lowering the tempo, you're lowering the pitch as well. But in Logic, you can't automate vary speed, but there's a way around it. So what we got to do here is first bounce this all in place as a whole. So we're going to Control B that. So that is our first loop for Drake. And then we got to take a second one as well. Let's go ahead and unmute all this. We're just going to take the keys and the shaker. And we're going to bounce that as well. Actually, I didn't need to mute that. Let's just undo that. We'll just select our shaker and our keys. Bounce that in place. All right, so now we got the two portions that we need for the Drake part. So before we adjust the tempo, we're going to select both of these bounce down audio tracks and turn on flex mode. And we're going to change the mode over to speed effects. This way it'll have the exact same effect as that vary speed effect, but we can automate it in Logic. with the tempo. So let's go ahead and just find the spot where we want to change up our so we want to adjust the tempo, I think right here. So we want to change up the tempo right here. In Logic, it's really easy to switch up your tempos. Just go to the section that you want it to change at. Hit your tempo map over here. I'm going to hit this plus sign. And all I'm going to do is type in the new tempo that I want set at 102. And just like that, you set the new tempo. And because we enable flex mode on these audio regions, it's going to automatically stretch the same amount of bars at any given tempo. So now all we got to do is just mute up this section over here. We're going to cut up this. And we're going to move this over, and you got the Drake part. Here's the Drake part. The only thing we gotta do is bring in that little bit of a fade to take out the clicks and pops. Once again, the fade is so small you don't hear the fade, it just removes those pops. So once again, we're going from 4 bats part at 136 beats per minute. Into Drake's part at 102 beats per minute. Beatz Act 2 Dated 8 featuring Drake. For your Logic users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below this video. If you do have any questions on this or just want to chat, let's go and talk in the comment section below this video. If you do have any suggestions for future videos, let's talk down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one later. Peace.